Welcome to my next tutorial about the camera triggers. In this tutorial, as some of you have also requested, I will explain you about the camera triggers. If you like the video, feel free to leave a like or subscribe. We begin now. At first, we start here with a zoom trigger. The zoom trigger is actually pretty easy. For zooming, you can use the slider here. This is for the zoom itself. You can make it double zoom, that means your cube will get bigger, or you zoom it like this, like with a small number, then your cube also gets smaller. This is here the fading time. You can set up how long until this zoom here is reached. And here's the easing. This is as in a move trigger or in a rotate trigger. I set now that it zooms bigger in 1 second. And the same one I can make that it goes smaller in a quarter second, I would say, like 0.25. In this one you can set up that the camera should focus on one object. For example, I have placed here a pickup item and the camera should focus on that pickup item here. Then you can, for example, set here that our pickup item has the group ID 1 and the camera will also have a target group ID 1. That means that the camera will be focused on our gift item. Here you can set up the duration, like in what time it should focus on the gift. Here you can set the easing, like back out, back in, bounce in, you know it. And if you want to stop the static, you can pick here this box. This is exit static. And don't forget to pick the target group ID you picked, of course. Here are of course other options that you can make it X only and Y only. That means more that only the X position of the camera will be static or only the Y position. It's up to you. This one is to use in this combination, but I don't know what it does actually. I personally didn't saw a difference. You then exit static and exit instant. Exit instant should do that it snaps instantly the camera to the previous position, whatever you did, but it also does the same if you make exit static and duration 0.0. More interesting what I want to show you is here the follow and the smooth velocity. Smooth velocity you will see. The best is I will show it you by example. This is with smooth velocity and this is without. You can set it up a bit more individual on how you need it. It's recommended to use it without having here an easing. The easing should be none. But you can also experiment with the easing. Let's see what will result. And the last feature which would be also useful for you is the follow. Follow would follow the object the camera should be static on. So the camera will also move up and down if the gift will move up. For example, it has our group ID 1. I will place here now a move trigger, which moves our target group ID 1 2 grids up. And remember that our static trigger has here the follow box. With the offset trigger, you can move the camera to the left or to the right, or up and down. It's all up to you. For example, this way the camera will be moved more to the right, when our player will be on the left. We can also make a 10 up. Yeah, we can also exaggerate a bit more. Yeah, this is a fair gameplay. And of course you have here also the easing and the move time. The rotate trigger is a bit more interesting. Let's say I will make it first that it rotates to 45 degrees and that we when doing here, I don't know, 30 degrees. Don't forget to set a time. As you have seen now and maybe wondered, here we have set 45 degrees, here we have set 30 degrees. Why it moved 45 and then actually back and not 30 degrees more? The reason is that this one is the absolute value. For making this one relative, that means that the 30 should be added to 45 degrees, which would make 75 in total. We should use the add button. Then the 30 degrees will be added to our 45 degrees. What we can also do is like making here 270 degrees. then it would be like this. But for this one, that it doesn't rotate so much, we can use the snap 360. That one would make it rotate how it's closer or shorter. I will show you later in a graphic. You will see it here and here. You see it moved back instead of moving forward to 270 because we have hit here with snap 360. I explain it to you shortly. So we firstly rotated it here to 45 degrees, and after this we have rotated it 270 degrees. What our snap 360 did is to move it here back to 270 degrees instead of moving like this and the long way to 270 degrees. The next trigger is the edge trigger. The edge trigger you can use for making an edge of view for the player itself. That means the player cannot look over there. This one we, for example, pick the right. That means that our target ID is on the right edge, and let's say we make target ID 1. Now I set here a wall, and it should only be one object which has the target ID. So just pick one block, for example, make it target ID 1, can also hide it, and let's say we move it by a half block. And if you wanna undo the edge trigger, you can just press here on unlock, and if this one is set up here and you're making a touch, trigger it. Here is 1, you can only see the white wall, and if you put the edge, when it's unlocked. Next trigger is the mode trigger. With this mode trigger you can set the game mode, which would have a border that the walls would not be there anymore. I'm talking about these walls here, up and down. The easing is for making your player always in the center or not. Like 1, when your player would be always in the center. If you make it on the highest, then the camera would get forward. Padding is like whether your player should stay inside the camera or not. So the lower, the more it will be outside the cam. The higher, the more it will be inside the cam. You can also use the mode settings here for the portal. Here is the same. Here is free mode, edit camera settings. And the last thing I'm gonna explain you is here the disable grid snap. The disable grid snap is doing that if you enter a portal, then the grids would be snapped actually, and the disable grid snap would don't make it snapped anymore. It's a very small difference, I show you. The next trigger is the guide trigger. This is this one here. The guide trigger is showing you the perspective of a player. Here you can set up the offsets, X, Y, and if you have used a camera zoom trigger, then this one will show you the zoom of a camera. This one is the preview opacity. You can make it invisible this way or visible. For what is that trigger, for example, I can show you. I use it, for example, for an UI trigger. The UI trigger is something useful if you make something permanent on your screen. Let's say you make here 3 hearts that they show up at your live in a platformer game, which one we give group 1, and here will be something written. These ones we give all the group ID 1, and the guide trigger we give group ID 2. Here in the UI, here you enter what group ID you want for group ID 1, and in the UI target is our camera center, which will get the group ID 2. So if we play test now, when our hearts are here on the left, they are a bit hidden. And the mid block, the single one, which is basically a square, is our camera center. Here you can align it also to the center, you can align it to the left, to the right, and making it relative. Relative is in case you have a different screen, like not 69, maybe you have full screen or whatever. So if you use, for example, here, that one, and make it on 1, and the other ones are also all on 1, then you can go to your eye trigger and make it relative. Then it will fit to every other screen also, even if you create on a aspect ratio 16:9. The problem is now, as you can see on the bottom left, that the blocks are kinda not together anymore. For that one there is another solution. You can go here, give it a new group ID with 3 and make here another block, for example this one. And make it in the middle, also with 3, but make it parent with a P button here. Then you need to copy paste here the UI trigger and make group ID 3. This way it should be together now. The last trigger is here the GP off trigger. The GP off is to set where the camera center should be. I explained it to you with an example of a UI trigger and of a guide trigger. Please note this block here was in the center from the x-axis. Here you can set up a offset x, that is for example -40, and you can also make that only the x-axis will have an offset and only the y-axis has an offset. So we set now 40, then you see our cube goes there. We can look up for this one, of course, and you see also what the line does here. You see the line is now here on the right. The down zoom here is making whether it should consider if your camera is zoomed actually right now or not, to show it you by picture. If you have here this block which has a scale by 2, and if you zoom out the block is of course smaller, and if you zoom closer the block is of course bigger, and the don't zoom is considering the camera zoom and consider that if it's closer that it should consider it and goes a bit then, and if it's like this here then the don't zoom would consider if it goes more far. To show you by example, and if you wanna undo your action, you can of course use here in the GP off trigger also the default box. Then it should make your cube back to the default. Just consider that the don't zoom settings should also be correct. Like if you have don't zoom enabled here, then it should also be enabled here. Thanks for watching the tutorial. If you like the tutorial, it would be nice if you leave a like or subscribe, leave a comment, ask questions, suggest more tutorials. Have a nice day and goodbye.